Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Friday at 4. My name is James Schreiber, and I am very happy to be here. Today we have a very special guest along with Amanda Van der Heijden. Amanda, why don't you say hello to everybody and also talk to us about who is going to be joining us on our little show today.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. So we have a very special guest, as Jim said, Mr. Gene Columbus, who joins us today. He started his career as a performer and then spent 38 years at Disney. He is heavy into volunteer work. He is a professor at UFC. And of course, he most recently has been with the Florida Regulatory Theater. So he comes with a breadth of knowledge. We're really excited for him to share his story. Gene, I'm sure I left a lot out. What did I leave out?
Well, good morning. Well, I should say good afternoon, everyone. And I'm just honored to be here and get a chance to speak to you. And it's the Orlando Repertory Theater. And obviously, I can send greetings from Orlando and the home of Walt Disney World, where I spent a good portion of my career. And I retired from there to go to the Orlando Repertory Theater. And then I retired from the Orlando Repertory Theater, but I guess I'm not doing well at this retirement business. So I'm back at it as an instructor out at UCF, an adjunct, and also very involved in other aspects of supporting arts and culture in our community.
That's amazing. Thank you, Gene. Gene has also been touring and speaks a lot about being the best we can be. So we wanted to explore this topic with Gene, as he is the expert, the leading expert on, what that means. Gene, what does that mean to you, being the best you can be?
Well, I think if I look back over my career, it was Walt Disney demanded perfection. However, he would accept excellence. And so we were always challenged to look beyond what we're doing now, the difference between, and it's sort of something that's going around now, between good and great. There's a very small distance between those two, good and great. So we always need to be looking to be better. The way to be better in most organizations, and I'm speaking now to those viewers that have one of the most important things we do is finding, leading, and then keeping really good people. And too many times we don't make that investment. And at Disney, I had been producing and doing I did all kinds of things, but ultimately I was asked to go into staffing because the role of the person that is staffing is critical to the success of the company. You're only as good as your staff.
I love that concept. It's so critical to invest. That's the best word to use. It's investing in finding the right talent, keeping the right talent, and retaining it. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between being the best you can be as an individual versus an organization.
Well, number one, I always encourage people to take responsibility. If you don't take charge of your life and your career, someone else will. And unfortunately, they may take you someplace where you do not want to go. That then robs you of that important ingredient in your career, fulfillment. Feeling like you are valuable and you're doing something with a purpose and making the world better and changing the world. Maybe only one person at a time, but you're changing the world. I absolutely, and as a teacher, I continuously remind my students, and I get a chance to obviously get around and speak to other groups and students, particularly college-age students, about that factor. It's the value that you bring to an organization that will bring value to you.
That's so true. Jim, thoughts?
Yeah, I first of all, thanks for the introduction. I'm really happy we're here. One of the things you said really is in my heart, and that is that talent for companies or organizations is the lifeblood, right? Because without talent, without people doing the jobs, all you have are, for the most part, a bunch of people talking about what might happen or what could happen. But you need the talent to do the jobs, right? So the lifeblood of every company is all the individuals that work for that company. From the and everybody's important, right? There is no single role in a company that isn't valuable and isn't important. Talk to us on how, in your past experience, how you engaged or the people that you work for engaged and made your employees and yourself feel valuable.
Very, very good, Jim. That is a critical part. And the attitude of the leader absolutely permeates throughout the organization. If the leader is confident and the leader trusts those individuals that report to them, the attitude I had is we all work for the company, and I'm not your boss. I'm your leader, and my responsibility is to ensure that you have everything you need to be able to do your job. Orlando Repertory Theater, and as you pointed out, no unimportant people. Like there's no unimportant client, there's no unimportant customer, there's no unimportant patron. So in my training programs at the Rep, we would stress to every level, at any given moment, you become the most important person in the organization. And however you deal with that will represent our organization. So what we always have to do is the customer always comes first, followed with quality experience, quality product, quality service, just quality. And then for those of us in leadership roles, the people that deliver the quality. And if we take care of those issues and also look at the business aspects, we're going to get much better business results by taking care of the people that are providing us with our lifeblood, the money, the funds, or the support necessary for us to operate our organization.
That's a great point. And, you talk about investing in the people. So this might be a leading question, but how do you foresee that? How do you foresee companies and organizations making the best in debt and making sure that their employees are up to the task, up to par to handle it?
Well, I always, because I was in staffing, I've mentioned that the most critical part of this is picking the best, looking at that, and so many times they let's have somebody screen these candidates. As an executive director, I did the screening. I think it's a critical one. Yes, there will be that. Someone did go through, and there are those people that send a resume for every job opening, even though they have no background. Yeah, those don't get forwarded on. But I take that stack and I look at each one, and I hired potential because the vast majority of people coming to your organization do not know how you run it. And if you are investing time in the interview process where you're measuring their potential, do they take responsibility? Are they accountable for their actions? If they're a manager, can they hold other people accountable for their actions? All of those issues, their relationship skills, their communication skills, all of those things are measured. And somebody goes, look, hey, give me the job, man. I'll turn this place upside down. And you go, well, the fact is, we don't want you to turn it upside down. That's not what we're looking for. So it's picking the best and then investing in them.
Did you have a design to figure out how to wean out potential when you were interviewing, or a favorite interview question that you like to use?
Yes, and I do seminars on this. Is that many times I think the interviewer or hiring manager goes to the website someplace and pulls out these really cool questions. If you were a day of the week, what day would you be? I mean, I don't necessarily go along with where. What I do is I work on the job description, the job outline. So simply put, the job is you answer the phone. Yeah, I can answer a phone. But looking beyond that, answer the phone how? And what do you do with that? What is that? And at Disney, put a smile in your voice. It's not just the task, it's the manner in which you do the job. And if you break down all the things that employee will do, that manager will do, that leader will do, no matter what the level is, and then the interview is allowing them to share how they would accomplish the tasks at hand. And that has proven successfully for me. It's quite wonderful to go out to Disney, and many of those puppies that I brought in are now full-grown leaders within the Disney Entertainment Group, and it makes me very proud. And many of them say that they felt that it all started with the interview, where they were able to articulate what they believed were the values, what they were supposed to be bringing to the job, and the issue of integrity. I have a number of little ways that I use I always ask for a cover letter. Look at the word cover. Hey, if the cover letter doesn't make it, I'm not going to look at the resume. I mean, in a sense, what it is that I want to know about them. And then I always ask for a recap. They've been in a meeting with us. We've been in a meeting to talk about their future. What did we talk about? Because when they go to a meeting representing our department, our organization, when they come back, how are they going to position that? And if they write their recap, making themselves look like the star, despite the fact that they may have stumbled on some things, that's an illustration of how they will be once hired. So we are, when we're working with our staff, it's the ones that come back and they're incredibly honest, and they're saying, I was asked about this, and I have to admit that I really hadn't had any experience with that, but I went online and I researched it, and I found it, which tells me that if they don't know, they're going to go find out. And so that's a critical part of the staffing process. And when you bring them in, you train them, and then you follow that up with more training. It's the investment. If you get the right people, they're solving many of your future problems. So you can be concentrating as the leader well beyond just the day-to-day. You can work on your vision, where you want to take the organization. But you have to have that solid operational department sitting there taking care of the day-to-day. So I've kind of gone on and on about that because obviously I'm very passionate about that.
We can hear the passion in your voice, and it's one of the things I've always enjoyed speaking with you. As we're coming, to the end of this, which has been extremely valuable, and I think our community is going to find that as well. I know one of the things I enjoyed when we spoke, you have interesting background, and you've met so many interesting people, quite a few famous people as well. Maybe talk to us a little bit about a couple of those individuals that really left a mark on you throughout your career and even to today.
I think when people ask me about that, I'm often asked, I spend a great deal of time with the Disney organization. And when I was a very young man in my 20s, I wanted desperately to work in motion pictures. And although I was performing on television and stage, and I was having a glorious time, but I had moved to Hollywood, California because I wanted to do movies. But there was a catch-22. You had to be a member of the union to even audition. But you couldn't get into the union unless you already had a job. Thinking back on that, there was a motion picture at Walt Disney Productions called Babes in Toyland. I heard about it. Okay, I snuck in, and it was I'm a classically trained dancer. I love that, and I had such great fun doing it, and so I'm going to say I was really well trained, and I could do all of those fancy things, Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty, all that sort of stuff. And so the ballet audition turned out to be right up my lane, and the choreographer in this audition that I had snuck into selected me, and I was so excited about that. And I can remember going home and calling my folks and telling them that I finally made it. But it was shortly after that that I got a call from casting, a gentleman by the name of Dick Ives, and he said that the union challenged me being on the film, and they had to cancel it. And I will say I was devastated. I don't think I left my apartment for a couple of days. But then Dick called back and said, "Look, we're doing another film called The Misadventures of Merlin Jones with Tommy Curtin. We need a stand-in." And I said, "Well, what do I got to do?" He just said, "You just stand there, takes no talent, but he'll get you in the union." And I ran down, joined the union before anybody could change their mind. And indeed, all I had to do was stand there. They focused the lights and the camera. One thing they didn't tell me I would do was sweat. Those Klieg lights were really hot. But then they would break everybody and they go off and get coffee. And I wasn't real important, so I kind of waited till everybody else got their coffee, and I'd get coffee, and I was wandering around. I certainly back then I was not as gregarious as I am now, but there I was in this place, and it was like on the fourth day, I'm sweating and lights, and then all the lights go out and everybody heads over for coffee, and I go over and I get towards the end of the line, and then someone gets in line behind me, and I get my coffee and I put it to the side and put stuff in it, and I looked over my shoulder. The guy that got in line behind me, he puts his cup down and says, "Hello, I'm Walt Disney." Well, of course it was Walt Disney. The whole world knew who this guy was. And he started asking about me, where I was from, what I did. To this day, I have no idea what I said, except that he said to call him Walt, and that was kind of a step I just couldn't take. But why is that important? The fact that the man whose name was on the gate that I entered that morning did not presume I knew who he was, and he wanted to know about me. And as far as I was concerned, the most unimportant person in that soundstage. Walt Disney made me feel important. And I challenge all of those people viewing this. Do you make people feel important? That's one of the big keys, I believe, to be a successful leader. Let them know that they're valuable to you as a person as well as a worker.
If nothing else comes out of this video or this whole series, that story with that ending, making people feel as if they're the most important people in the room, making them feel valued, is a life lesson that not only should we all take, but we all need to put into practice. And I can say this, your background is so interesting, and I'm sure if you're open to it, we'd love to bring you back for a second round, because I know we could go into stories about Elvis and so forth and some others. But these lessons that you gave us today, these real life lessons, something everybody who's watching this or listening to the podcast, we can take this and realize that as simple as that is making everybody feel important, we have to put it in play. We have to implement it. We have to try to do that. And you know what? I believe if we do that for others, it'll come back to that, to us, and people will do that for us as well. Amanda, anything in closing?
Yeah, that was very powerful. Thank you, Gene. And to your point, I was listening, so I'd love to recap a little bit about what you talked about today and give you the opportunity to add anything I may miss. But the three main pillars we discussed today were the talent acquisition, finding the right people and how. Make sure you have a process developed so that you're understanding not just if they can do it, but how they plan on doing it and their integrity. The next pillar, of course, is managing people. And I love your supposition of, the difference between being a boss and a leader, right? There's a big difference between being the person in charge and actually inspiring others and working with others in that context. And then, of course, the final one is training and developing your people. And I love how you talk about it's an investment. It's a critical investment to believe in your people, to put your money where your mouth is, and to make sure that they're getting what they need to continue to grow and succeed. Gene, anything I missed?
Well, I've really enjoyed it. Of course, I enjoy sharing my stories and my experience, and I think it's critical for all of us to think about that in the continuation of the beyond the standard career, where we still can do so much to help others.
Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this. This is a little longer than we normally go, but I do believe, and I think you will also see the value when you are lucky enough to have someone like Gene Columbus come on and really give us the breadth of his experience and his background. Again, if you have any questions for Gene, Amanda, or myself, please reach out. Go to our website at www.grtas.net. That's grtas.net. Send us your questions, your comments. We'd love to hear from you. As well, if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell. That way you'll know automatically when we post. We try to post every Friday around 4 o'clock because that's our namesake. And listen to our podcast. You can download. It's on iTunes and iHeartRadio and some other places as well. This has been a great kickoff to our series with guests. And hopefully what we're doing with our community is growing it, giving some wisdom. And we'd love, again, to hear from you as well on what your thoughts were for Amanda, Gene, and myself, for all of us here at Friday at 4. Thank you again for your time, and we'll see you next week.